The application Maya-chan stared at her laptop screen, cursor blinking in the subject line of what could be the most important email of her life. The job posting for senior graphic designer at Nexus Creative Agency had been everything she dreamed of: creative freedom, competitive salary, and the chance to work with major brands. After 4 years of freelancing from her tiny apartment while juggling single motherhood, this opportunity felt like a lifeline. "Mommy, can we have pancakes?" Lily's small voice broke through her concentration. Her 4-year-old daughter stood in the doorway of their cramped home office, clutching her favorite stuffed elephant. "In a minute, sweetheart," Maya replied, forcing a smile. "Mommy just needs to send this very important letter." She turned back to the screen and began typing her cover letter, each word carefully chosen. She couldn't mention being a single mother. She'd learned that lesson the hard way from previous interviews, where the conversation had shifted uncomfortably once employers realized her situation. Instead, she focused on her achievements: the small business logos that had gained recognition, the wedding invitations that had gone viral on social media, the late-night courses she'd completed to stay current with design trends. What she didn't mention was how she'd earned her degree while pregnant, working at a coffee shop until her water broke. She didn't write about the nights spent designing while Lily slept, or how she'd turned down social events and dating opportunities to focus on building a career that could support them both. Maya attached her portfolio, a carefully curated collection of her best work, and hovered over the send button. This job would change everything. Nexus Creative was known for nurturing talent and offering growth opportunities. The health insurance alone would be life-changing. Lily's recent ear infections had drained their savings. "Mommy?" Lily appeared beside her chair, having grown tired of waiting. "Okay, baby girl, let's make those pancakes." Maya clicked send before she could second-guess herself, then scooped Lily into her arms. As they made breakfast together, Lily chattering about her preschool friends, Maya allowed herself to hope. She'd come so far from the scared 20-year-old who'd been abandoned when she needed support most. The boy who'd promised her forever had vanished the moment she'd told him about the pregnancy, leaving only a note saying he needed space to figure things out. That was 4 years ago. Maya had figured things out on her own. 2 days later, her phone rang with an unfamiliar number. "Ms. Chun? This is Jennifer Walsh from Nexus Creative Agency. We'd like to schedule an interview for next Friday at 2 o'clock. Maya's heart raced. "Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity." As she hung up, Lily looked up from her coloring book. "Good news, Mommy?" "Very good news, little love." Very good news indeed. Maya had no idea that fate was about to collide with her carefully rebuilt life in the most unexpected way possible. The revelation Maya stood before the towering glass building that housed Nexus Creative Agency, her portfolio clutched tightly in her sweating palms. She'd spent the previous evening practicing her presentation while Lily played quietly, and this morning she dropped her daughter off at preschool with extra hugs and promises of ice cream later, regardless of how the interview went. The lobby was everything she'd imagined: sleek marble floors, modern art installations, and the kind of purposeful energy that came from creative minds at work. Maya checked in with the receptionist, a friendly woman named Sarah, who offered her coffee and directed her to the elevator. 13th floor, Conference Room B, Sarah said with an encouraging smile. "Mr. Rodriguez will meet you there shortly." Maya's stomach fluttered with nervous excitement as the elevator climbed. Rodriguez, a common enough name that meant nothing to her. She'd researched the company extensively, but hadn't delved deep into individual employee profiles, focusing instead on their client work and company culture. The elevator doors opened to reveal a bustling creative floor. Designers hunched over tablets, walls covered with mood boards and concept sketches, the controlled chaos of creativity in motion. Maya felt a surge of longing. This was where she belonged. Conference room. B was at the end of a hallway, lined with award certificates and framed campaign posters. Maya took a deep breath, smoothed her blazer one final time, and knocked gently on the glass door. "Come in," called a voice that made her blood freeze. She pushed open the door and stepped inside, her eyes immediately finding the man standing, with his back to her, looking out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the city skyline. He was taller than she remembered, broader through the shoulders, wearing an expensive charcoal suit that spoke of success and confidence. But when he turned around, Maya's world tilted on its axis. "Maya?" The name fell from his lips like a question, like a prayer, like an apology, all rolled into one. Alexander Rodriguez, Alex, as she'd known him, stood frozen across from her, his dark eyes wide with the same shock that had rendered her speechless. His hair was shorter now, professionally styled, and there were fine lines around his eyes that hadn't been there in college. But it was unmistakably him, the boy who'd held her hand during late-night study sessions, who'd talked about changing the world through design, who disappeared when she'd needed him most. Maya started, then stopped, her professional composure warring with the emotional storm threatening to overwhelm her. "Please, sit down," Alex said, his voice carefully controlled, but she could hear the tremor underneath. He gestured to the conference table, and Maya noticed his hand was shaking slightly. They sat across from each other, the polished wood surface stretching between them like a chasm. Maya's mind raced. Should she leave? Pretend they didn't know each other? Demand answers to questions that had haunted her for 4 years? "Your last name," Alex said quietly. "Chun, you changed it." "I didn't change anything," Maya replied, finding her voice. "It was always Chun. We just never talked about official things." The implication hung heavy. They'd been young in love, living in the moment without thinking about legal documents or real-world complications. Alex ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Maya's chest ache. "Maya, I looked for you. After graduation, I tried to find you, but you just vanished. No forwarding address, no social media presence, nothing." Maya's eyebrows rose. "I vanished?" The irony was so sharp it could cut glass. "You left me a note saying you needed space, and then changed your phone number. When I went to your apartment, your roommate said you'd moved out without leaving any contact information." "What note?" Alex's confusion seemed genuine, and for the first time since entering the room, Maya felt a flicker of doubt about the narrative she'd carried for 4 years. Before either could say more, there was a soft knock on the glass door. Sarah peered in apologetically. "Mr. Rodriguez? Your 2:30 is here early. Should I have them wait?" Alex looked at Maya, his eyes filled with questions she wasn't sure she was ready to answer. "Actually, Sarah, could you reschedule my 2:30? Something important has come up." As Sarah nodded and left, Maya realized that this interview was about to become something entirely different than either of them had anticipated. The truth unfolds. The silence stretched between them after Sarah's departure, heavy with 4 years of unanswered questions. Maya fidgeted with her portfolio, while Alex stared at his hands as if they held answers he desperately needed. "There was no note," Alex said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "Maya, I swear to you, I never left you a note." Maya's carefully constructed composure began to crack. "Don't lie to me, Alex. Out now. I have that note memorized. I need space to figure out my life. This is all happening too fast. I'm sorry." "It was in your handwriting." Alex's head snapped up, his eyes filled with a horror that seemed genuine. "My mother," he breathed. "Oh, God, Maya, my mother. What about your mother?" Alex stood abruptly, pacing to the window. "When did you tell me?" "About the pregnancy." What was the exact date? Maya's throat tightened. She'd never forget that day. The way the morning sun had streamed through his dorm room window. How nervous she'd been. How his face had gone pale before he'd pulled her into his arms and whispered that they'd figure it out. Together. March 15th. A Tuesday. You had that presentation for Professor Martinez the next day. The day before spring break, Alex said, pressing his forehead against the glass. Maya, I went home that night to tell my parents about us, about the baby. I was terrified, but excited. I wanted to do right by you, by our child. Our child. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She'd never heard him say those words. Alex turned back to her, his face etched with pain. I never made it back to campus. My parents ... when I told them. My father exploded. Said you were probably lying, trying to trap me, ruin my future. My mother was calmer, more calculating. She said they'd handle everything. Handle everything? Maya's voice was ice. The next morning, 2 men arrived at the house. Private security. My parents had me committed to a private facility in Switzerland. Exhaustion and stress. They told everyone. I was there for 8 months, Maya. 8 months where I had no phone, no internet, no contact with the outside world, except letters that were screened. Maya felt the room spinning. That's impossible. You were at school. Jake said you'd moved? Out, that you'd transferred. Jake? Alex's brow furrowed. Jake Morrison, my roommate? Maya, my parents paid him. They paid him to say I'd left, to give you that note, which they obviously forged, and to make sure you believed I'd abandoned you. The pieces began falling into place with sickening clarity. Jake's awkward demeanor when she'd confronted him. How he'd avoided her eyes. The way he'd suddenly afforded that expensive off-campus apartment the next semester. The letters, Alex continued, his voice breaking. I wrote you dozens of letters from Switzerland. Love letters, apologies, promises that I'd find a way back. To you. They told me they were being sent. When you never responded, when months passed without a word, I thought you'd decided you were better off without me. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. I never got any letters. And I never got yours. When I finally got out, when I turned 21 and gained access to my trust fund, I hired a private investigator. But Maya Chun didn't exist in any database. No forwarding address, no employment records, nothing. It was like you'd disappeared from the face of the earth. Because I was using my mother's maiden name, Maya whispered. Chun, after you left, after I thought you'd left, I couldn't bear keeping Rodriguez on any documents. And when Lily was born... Lily? Alex's voice caught. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She hadn't meant to say the name. Yes. How old is she? The question hung in the air like a blade. Maya met his eyes, seeing the desperate hope and terror warring there. 4. She turned 4 last month. Alex sank into his chair, as if his legs had given out. He buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking. When he looked up, his eyes were red-rimmed. I have a daughter. Alex, what's she like? The question came out strangled. Does she does she look like you? Maya pulled out her phone with trembling fingers, scrolling to her lock screen, a photo of Lily on the swings at the park. Her dark hair flying, her smile bright and uninhibited. Alex stared at the image, and Maya watched as he saw himself in their daughter's features, the same dark eyes, the same stubborn chin, the same way of tilting her head when she was thinking. She's beautiful, he whispered. She's perfect. And I've missed everything. Maya closed her phone and slipped it back into her purse. Alex, I need you to understand something. I didn't come here for this. I didn't come here for you. I came here for a job, for a chance to build a better life for my daughter. Our daughter. Alex nodded, wiping his eyes. I know. And Maya ... You're going to get that job. Not because of this, not because of guilt or pity, but because you're talented enough to be here. I've seen your portfolio. It's extraordinary. For the first time since walking into the room, Maya felt a glimmer of the future she'd been working toward, but now it was complicated by a past she thought was buried forever. The professional test Maya took a steadying breath, her hands finding their familiar confidence as she opened her portfolio case. The personal revelations of the past hour threatened to overwhelm her, but she'd learned long ago to compartmentalize. When Lily's future was at stake, "I need to ask you something," she said, meeting Alex's eyes directly. "Can you separate Alex Rodriguez the person from Alex Rodriguez the creative director? Because I won't accept charity, and I won't let our history cloud your professional judgment." Alex straightened in his chair, and Maya caught a glimpse of the executive he'd become. "I can. The question is, can you present to me as if I'm any other potential employer? I've been preparing for this interview for weeks. I'm not about to let anything derail it now." Something shifted in the room's energy. Maya pulled out her tablet and began setting up her presentation, her movements precise and practiced. Alex leaned back slightly, his expression shifting into what she recognized as his professional assessment mode. The same focused attention he'd given to design critiques in college, but refined by years of corporate experience. "This is my design philosophy," Maya began, her voice steady as she pulled up her first slide. "Every visual element should tell a story, but more importantly, it should make the audience feel something they didn't expect to feel." She walked him through her evolution as a designer, from her early work rebranding a local bakery to her recent viral campaign for a sustainable fashion startup. Each piece was accompanied by metrics: increased sales, social media engagement, brand recognition scores. This rebrand for Meridian Coffee increased their foot traffic by 37% in the first quarter, she explained, showing before and after designs. But the real success was in creating emotional connection. Their customers didn't just buy coffee. They bought into a community. Alex asked probing questions about her creative process, her approach to client relations, her thoughts on emerging design trends. Maya answered each one thoroughly, her confidence building as she realized he was treating her exactly as he would any other candidate. No kid gloves, no careful dancing around difficult topics. "Walk me through your biggest failure," Alex said. Leaning forward, Maya paused, considering. In any other interview, she might have offered a safe, humble brag disguised as a weakness. But something about this moment demanded honesty. 2 years ago, I took on a client who wanted a complete rebrand for their tech startup. I was so eager for the paycheck. Lily had just started preschool, and the costs were overwhelming that I ignored red flags about their company culture. I delivered exactly what they asked for, but what they'd asked for was generic, safe, forgettable. She pulled up the designs on her tablet. Technically perfect, strategically sound, completely soulless. They loved it. I hated it. When their company folded 6 months later, I realized I'd been so focused on giving them what they wanted that I forgot to give them what they needed, which was authenticity. A brand that reflected who they actually were, not who they thought they should be. I learned that financial pressure can't compromise creative integrity. It's a lesson that's shaped every project since. Alex nodded slowly. "How do you handle work-life balance?" "This role would require occasional late nights, some travel." Maya had anticipated this question, the one where her single motherhood could become a liability. "I'm extremely efficient with my time because I have to be. I meet deadlines, I communicate proactively, and I deliver quality work. I have reliable childcare arranged, and I'm comfortable with travel as long as I have adequate notice." She didn't mention the network of other single mothers she'd built over the years. The careful choreography of pickup schedules and emergency contacts that made her professional life possible. For the next 30 minutes, Alex grilled her on technical skills, design software proficiency, her thoughts on team collaboration. Maya rose to meet every challenge, her passion for the work evident in every answer. Last question, Alex said, closing his notebook. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Maya looked around the conference room, at the awards on the walls, at the creative energy buzzing beyond the glass doors. Leading a team, mentoring junior designers, creating campaigns that don't just sell products, but change how people think. I want to be the kind of creative director who pushes boundaries while nurturing talent. She paused, then added quietly, and I want my daughter to see that her mother never settled for less than she deserved. Alex was quiet for a long moment, his pen tapping against his notebook. When he looked up, his expression was unreadable. Maya, you're overqualified for the senior designer position. Her heart sank. I understand which is why I'm recommending you for the associate creative director role that just opened up. 20% higher salary, your own team, and the creative freedom to develop campaigns from concept to completion. Maya stared at him, speechless. This is based entirely on your portfolio, your presentation, and your qualifications, Alex continued. The final decision goes through our board, but I'll be recommending you strongly. Maya struggled to find words. Thank you. This means everything. Alex stood, extending his hand for a professional handshake. As their fingers touched briefly, he said quietly, You've built an incredible life, Maya. Lily is lucky to have you. Maya gathered her materials, her mind spinning between professional triumph and personal complexity. As she reached the door, Alex's voice stopped her. Maya, would you would you be willing to let me meet her? Someday, when you're ready? She turned back, seeing not the successful executive, but the boy who'd once promised they'd figure everything out together. Let's take this one step at a time, she said softly. But Alex, she deserves to know her father. New beginnings. 3 weeks later, Maya sat in her new office actual walls, a window, her name on the door in sleek silver lettering. The associate creative director position had been officially approved by the board, and she'd spent her first week getting acquainted with her team of 4 junior designers who looked at her with a mixture of respect and curiosity. She was reviewing campaign proposals when her assistant knocked. Miss Chun, there's someone here to see you. Says it's personal. Maya looked up to find Alex standing in her doorway, but he wasn't alone. Beside him stood a woman with kind eyes and graying hair, holding a small wrapped package. Maya, this is my mother. Carmen Rodriguez, Alex said quietly. His voice carried a weight she hadn't heard before. Carmen stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. Miss Chun, I owe you an apology that's 4 years overdue. Her voice was thick with emotion. What I did was unforgivable. I convinced myself I was protecting my son, but I robbed you both of so much. Maya remained seated, her expression carefully neutral. Mrs. Rodriguez, I've spent the last 3 weeks thinking about the grandmother I could have been, about the little girl I've never met. Carmen's voice broke. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I've established a college fund for Lily, and I've written her a letter. For when she's old enough to understand, she placed the wrapped package on Maya's desk. These are all the letters Alex wrote to you from Switzerland. Every single one. I kept them, thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. Maya stared at the package, her throat tight. Alex stepped forward. Mom wanted to apologize in person before. Well, before I asked if you'd considered what we talked about. Maya had been considering little else. Late at night, after Lily was asleep, she'd found herself imagining conversations, explanations. The look on her daughter's face when she learned about her father. "I've talked to Lily," Maya said finally. "I told her that Daddy had to go away for a long time, but that he never stopped loving her, even though he couldn't be with us." Alex's breath caught. She asked if Daddy was coming back. I told her maybe, if she wanted him to." "And?" Alex's voice was barely a whisper. Maya smiled. The first genuine smile she'd given him since walking into that conference room. She asked if Daddy likes elephants, because they're her favorite animal, and if he knows how to make pancakes. Carmen laughed through her tears. "He makes terrible pancakes, but he loves elephants." "There's a park near my apartment," Maya continued. "Lily likes the swings there. Saturday afternoons are usually good for us, if you wanted to meet her properly." Alex nodded, unable to speak. "But Alex," Maya's voice grew firm, "this isn't about us. Not yet. Maybe not ever. This is about Lily, having her father in her life. We take this slow. We put her first, and we figure out how to be co-parents before we even think about anything else." "I understand," Alex said. "I just want to be part of her life. Part of both your lives, however you'll have me." Carmen touched Maya's shoulder gently. "You've raised an incredible daughter. Alex showed me the pictures from your phone. She's beautiful, and I can see in her eyes that she's loved." Maya's professional composure finally cracked. "It's been hard, doing it alone." "You won't have to anymore," Alex said. "Not if you don't want to." Saturday afternoon found Maya pushing Lily on the swings, while Alex sat nervously on a nearby bench. A stuffed elephant in his lap, the largest one he could find at the toy store. "Lily, baby, there's someone I want you to meet," Maya called softly. Lily jumped down from the swing and skipped over, her dark curls bouncing. She stopped in front of Alex, studying his face with the serious concentration only children possessed. "Are you my daddy?" she asked simply. Alex's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, sweetheart, I'm your daddy." Lily tilted her head, considering. "Mommy said you had to go away, but you're back now." "I'm back now," Alex confirmed. "And I brought you something." He handed her the elephant, and Lily's face lit up with pure joy. "He's perfect. What's his name?" "That's up to you." Lily hugged the elephant tight, then looked between her parents. "Can Daddy push me on the swings?" Maya nodded, stepping back as Alex approached the swing set with careful reverence, as if he were handling something precious and fragile. As she watched her daughter laugh with delight as her father pushed her higher and higher, Maya felt something she hadn't experienced in 4 years. Hope, not just for financial security or career success, but for the possibility that they could build something new from the broken pieces of their past. It wouldn't be easy. There would be difficult conversations, legal arrangements to figure out, and the delicate work of learning to trust again. But watching Lily's face shine with happiness, Maya thought maybe, just maybe, some stories deserved a second chance. At their ending, "Higher, Daddy, higher!" Lily called out, her laughter carried on the afternoon breeze. And for the first time in 4 years, Maya could envision a future where none of them would have to face tomorrow alone.